I'm John Newbergarner from Sharon Center, Ohio, and I'm told I'm the first person to sign up for Calvin's 24-hour challenge, and I'm really looking forward to that race. You can go to the link in the show notes down below for it, and first, let's get with Lee and go to the OhioRAAM show.
And I am Lee Kreider.
And I am Maria Vasquez, and this is the OhioRAAM show, a show about cycling and ultracycling.
And this is show number 179. Well, we want to thank John Hoopengarner for that introduction. John comes from, up in the part of Ohio that Marie comes from, and he will be racing in the Race Across America in 2018. I call John the Wrong Way Corrigan of ultracycling, which will become plain when you see the show in March. And if you don't know who Wrong Way Corrigan is, just go to your search engine and look up Wrong Way Corrigan and learn about him. It's a story that my father used to tell and laugh. It's a true story, actually, and be sure to check it out. Well, Maria won't be on today's show because this was recorded before we brought Maria on board, but you'll be seeing more of her in the shows ahead. And we are sponsored, as always, with Time Stations 41 in Oxford, Ohio, and Time Stations 42 in Blanchester, Ohio, the time stations on the Race Across America. And we want to give a shout out to all the staff time stations across the nation. These people work 24 hours a day to help the race happen, and we appreciate all of them. We particularly appreciate our sponsors here in Ohio. Be sure and check your show notes. You'll see them just below the video here on the OhioRAAMshow.com website. If you happen to be watching the show on YouTube, again, in the description below the video, you'll see a link to this location and these show notes. It's always a joy to find a new name in the world of ultracycling, someone who's blossoming, and today's guest, Gina Clere from Basildon, England, certainly has blossomed very quickly in this sport. She moved from riding horses to riding bicycles and has hopes of being in the Race Across America at some time in the future. When we recorded this show, she had not yet settled on her charity, but she has since picked Alzheimer's as her charity because her father is a victim of that rather vicious disease. And again, you'll find a link in the show notes to her charity where you can donate, and we would encourage you doing that. And so with that, let's head on over to Basildon, England, and Gina Clere. So Gina, tell me a little about yourself. You're married, aren't you? And a little bit what you do.
Okay, so I'm 36 years old. I've been cycling now for about 3 years. Prior to cycling, I had a horse that I had through all of my teenage years and into my early 20s. I've never cycled before now. It's just something that I took up because when I lost my horse, I had nothing to do. So I was getting a bit fit and unhealthy. I only actually bought the bike in the first place to cycle to work, to do a few miles each and every day. And I just loved it so much that it took off. I'm married. I've been married to Nick for the last 7 years. And he is a fabulous husband to me. He looks after me. I'm a terrible wife. He looks after me. He looks after the house, and he allows me to go off and spend all the time that I do cycling.
Well, great. And I remember from looking at your bio, which somehow disappeared here from me all of a sudden, your horse's name was Mr. Darcy, wasn't it?
It certainly was. He was very arrogant and a very handsome horse, and he certainly knew that he was handsome, and he was a bit of a showman as well.
Well, I just love all the English writers over there, and I believe that's from Pride and Prejudice, isn't it?
It certainly is one of my favorite books.
Yeah, and it's been re-rendered here so many times on television and what have you. Everybody ought to be familiar with that wonderful story. So you kind of took on cycling. Well, what was it? A cycle to work program or something you got involved in there? That's how you got started?
So the Cycle to Work program it's basically a tax-free program that we offer in the UK, and they offer a sum of money that you pay back over 12 salary sacrifices prior to paying tax. So it allows people to purchase bikes that perhaps couldn't afford to purchase one all in one hit. It's to encourage us to cycle to work and to not pollute the atmosphere and to just be that bit more healthy.
So then, after cycling to work, how did you get into longer distance cycling? From reading your bio, it sounds like that all happened pretty fast.
Well, basically, I bought the bike. I cycled to work for about 3 weeks, and my husband said to me, "Why don't you join a cycling club?" Because when I had finished with the horses, I'd lost all my social life. Because horses take so much time, basically, if you haven't got a horse, then you can't really hang out with the horsey set. So I'd lost all my friends, and my husband said to me, "Join a cycling club." And little did he know that I'd be this far involved with it now. Within about the first 3 months, I'd done my first 60-mile sportive. Saying to him the night before, "Do you think I'll make 60 miles?" Because I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to do it. And I did it. And it's just sprung. My first century within about 6 months, and discovered that actually the long distance cycling is something that I really love.
You turned in a lot of miles that first year, didn't you?
That first year I did somewhere in the region of 10,000 miles. And last year I did about 16,000 miles. And this year I'm going for 20, although I think I'm going to fall a little bit short because unfortunately I've been diagnosed with DVT. So I've had 4 weeks off the bike pretty much, but I'm ready to get back on now.
And what was that again, your diagnosis?
DVT, blood clots.
Oh, okay, okay.
Deep vein thrombosis.
What are some of the events you've done that we would recognize?
Well, it all started really in the first year with Revolve, which is at Brands Hatch, which is a 24-hour competition. I only actually entered it to see how far I could cycle in 24 hours, but I went and won the solo female. So I was absolutely over the moon with that. And this year I've done Le Mans 24-hour, which I won the solo female there. I've also done Brands Hatch again this year as a solo female, and I came second. And I've also done London, Edinburgh, London this year, which is the longest Shortgats that we do, which is 1,400 kilometres, and I completed that in 96 hours. So I was really pleased with that because that was in the top 10%. Okay, so the last event I did was the Mersey 24-hour National Time Trials Championship, which was the first time trials I've entered, and I came 5th. So I was really pleased with that.
Tell me a little bit about what your goals are.
My ultimate goal is the pinnacle of ultracycling, which is Race Across America. I've entered Race Across Europe next year as an unsupported soloist, which I know Race Across America obviously is supported, but it will give me some idea of what doing 3,000 miles day to day and back to back feels like. And then I'm looking to do RAAM in 2019. Once I've done RAAM, I don't know where I'll go after that, but RAAM at the moment is absolutely the ultimate goal.
Have you qualified for RAAM yet, and where would you think you would do that?
So I've not qualified this year. I came short by about 20 miles at Revolve at Brands Hatch. But next year I've got some qualifiers planned in alongside my Race Across Europe, which I'm hoping will allow me some clemency to qualify.
Does your husband ride with you at all?
Oh, no, my husband's not with me. He's not interested in cycling, bless him. He's a go-kart man.
Does he work? Is he going to be part of your support system?
No, absolutely not. He supports me by looking after the house and cooking me dinner and stuff. So he won't come with me. But one of the reasons is that he's self-employed. So he's a farrier or a blacksmith, I think you call them.
Ah, okay.
So he'll be busy at home looking after the horses.
So I believe that's how you met him, when you had a horse, wasn't it?
Yep, he was my farrier.
And for those of us, or for those of you, I should say, who've never been around horses, that's the person who shoes horses, isn't it? There's two theories about that. Some say that a spouse makes the best support team, and others say you should never have them, but I guess each person has to figure that out for themselves.
My husband's very laid back, which is a great compliment to me in normal everyday life because I'm a stress head, so it's good to have him around me. But I don't think he'd help me very much in competition because he wouldn't be pushy enough and he wouldn't encourage me enough, I think.
One of the things you have to learn when you have a crew is to let that crew chief be your boss. Turn the race over to that person. Think you can handle that?
I think it will be a little bit tough. So I had that experience to a degree with London, Edinburgh, London. Although it is technically unsupported, I had a support car with me because I wanted to get it done in such a quick time frame. So I didn't have I wasn't slowed down with carrying my own kit as such. And we struggled a little bit. So between my support crew and me, there were a few, I wouldn't say arguments, but there were a few disagreements with whether we should carry on, whether I should stop and try and sleep. And I learned some big lessons on that ride. So I thought I could go without sleep for 48 hours. And I've learned that that's definitely not the case. 48 hours is far too long to go without sleep. And I also probably didn't eat as much as I should have done, whereas my crew would have liked to have seen me eat more. So their understanding, and to a degree, I sabotaged my own race in the fact that I didn't sleep as much as I should have done. And consequently, I've sort of learnt my lesson to believe in your crew and trust them.
That's a hard lesson for some people to learn, Gina.
It's been tough because I'm a bit of a control freak. I do like to organise myself and know where my schedule is. So it definitely was tough, but I've also seen the results or lack of results because of it. So the fact that I didn't sleep for 48 hours, I thought I was going to be able to catch up some of the time that I was behind. And actually, in the long run, it cost me more time and I didn't perform as well as I could have done. And in hindsight, I can see that the crew were right.
Do you have any charitable goals you work on, Gina?
I haven't done this year. So last year I worked for cancer research. I did a lot of different rides for them. I would like to do something towards dementia because sadly my dad is affected by dementia. Pretty close to my own heart.
And I believe your father is still alive, is he not?
He is. He was diagnosed about 7 years ago with Lewy body dementia, mixed dementia and vascular dementia and Parkinson's as well. And he's still going. He's a fighter, a real fighter, my dad.
Do you have any sponsors yet, Gina, to help you along financially?
I've been very lucky. So all my bikes and maintenance are looked after by Cycles UK. I also have Hammer Nutrition looking after me. So I've upped my game around my nutrition because I used to do my long distance rides on a couple of packets of Watsits and maybe a chocolate bar or two, which I no longer do. I've got a company called Fit Your Bike looking after me who looks after my physio needs and my bike fitting. And I've also got All First Aid Training who sponsor me as well. So I've been really lucky so far. There is definitely room for more sponsors though, as always.
Well, it sounds like you got a good list starting there.
I've been very lucky. I think I get noticed because of the amount of mileage that I do and because of the amount of time that I spend riding. So when I'm on a normal week, I do about 400 miles a week and I spend about 30 hours a week training.
Well, Gina, we wish you well and we hope we'll be able to see you here in the United States in 2019. Sounds like you're making nice progress and we hope you do very well.
Thank you very much, Lee. I can't wait to get to America.
Well, we can't wait to see you. So thanks for being with us today. Well, thank you, Gina, for taking your time. We wish you well. We hope to see you here in the United States in 2019 as you plan. And as always, we want to thank those of you who watch the show. You mean so much to us, particularly those of you who support the show in the social media and encouraging what we're trying to do here. I've gotten some very nice messages here of late from you, the fans of the show. We appreciate that a great deal. It encourages us to keep on doing this. This is a labor of love. On our next show, which will be the 17th of February, we're going to do something just a bit different. We're going to have Kimberly Coates with us, who is the marketing director for Team Rwanda. She has some important messages for us for what is happening in Rwanda, and we are happy to say that things are developing nicely there. We want to support that, and particularly after some political firestorm here in the United States recently about Africa. With that, we'll see you in about 10 days. Goodbye.
Music